Now, for the record, that's a stupid test. That autofocus test that YouTubers do, I was doing that because that's what we're used to seeing, but when do you need that? Nobody's ever going like this in the middle of a video. Like, that's not. Sony versus Samyang. Is Samyang really as good as you've heard? Is it good enough to compete with Sony at a fraction of the price? Some YouTubers, photographers, videographers say Samyang is the way to go, but others say, no, it's a fraction of the price because it's a fraction of the quality. Well, let's find out which is true in this video. Hey, Brian Miller here, and welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. Except this video is not about audio. If it were, I'd have my regular boom mic set up right out of frame overhead going into my fancy audio recording equipment instead of a Rode VideoMic NTG just placed on top of the camera so I can get in and get out of making this video. No, this video is about the Sony 35mm 1.8 versus the Samyang 35mm 1.8. And this is the perspective of a content creator, not a professional photographer, not a professional videographer, and it's not for cinematic use, it's for this talking head YouTuber content creation stuff. I'm gonna be bouncing back and forth in this video between two different lenses. As I said, the Sony and the Samyang. They're both 35, they're both 1.8. I am filming everything in S Cinetone, and I'm doing no post color correction, color grading, nothing. This is S Cinetone coming straight out of camera, untouched. Now, I am filming both of these lenses with the lens hood on, no filters in front of it whatsoever at all. You'll notice that I just did my first shift from one lens to the other. Did you notice anything change? Did you notice anything get better or worse? Something you like or don't like? And we're not talking about the build quality. We're not talking about how the focus rings feel, the fancy features. We are just talking about image, because there are a lot of people that say the Samyang has a vibe. It's got a feel to it, whereas the Sony feels more corporate, more sterile. And I want to find out if you're noticing that when you don't know which lens you're looking at. And I think the big problem with lens comparison videos is they always tell you what lens you're looking at. And because you know what lens you're looking at, your brain tries to see that the one that you have already bought or the one you're thinking about buying is the best one. When you see that one, your brain finds all the reasons why it looks better. But right now, you don't know which one is which. So I'm gonna flip back to the other lens now. So we're back on the first lens that I was using again, and take a look. Did anything change? Does anything look better or worse or different to you at all? Are you noticing anything about the, let's test the autofocus. If I rock in close, if I come way back over here, if I zoom out of the frame and I come back into the frame and I come back close and I come back here. I mean, it's a freaking Sony a7 IV. The autofocus is insane on this thing to begin with. But now let's go back to that second lens and do the same autofocus test. And we're back on the second lens. Let's do that autofocus test. If I come in close, if I come way far away, if I come back to here, if I go way down here out of the frame, if I come back into the frame, come close and come far away again, is it keeping me in focus? Coming in close, coming in far away, going way far away, coming way down here to the side of the frame, going out of the frame completely, coming in close to the frame, coming in back. I mean, I don't know how you think this is doing compared to that first lens, but you know, because you're looking at it. I mean, this is not a scientific test we're doing here. I'm like zooming around. There's no way that I'm doing the exact same thing perfectly every time, but this is it. Make your decision right now. I'm gonna give you a few seconds before I tell you which lens is which, and yeah, so let's do it. All right, so now we know which lens was which. The first lens that I started the video with, lens number 1, is the Sony. That's what I'm on right now. And the other lens is the Samyang. It is a fraction of the price, and it's an interesting lens. And the thing is, I picked them both up, and I honestly, based on all the reviews I had seen, I thought I was gonna love the Samyang because it seemed like it had a vibe to it and that everything else was pretty much the same, sharpness and all that stuff. I'm not finding that. I was a little disappointed with the Samyang. First of all, it's tighter. Did you all notice that? It crops in just a little bit. I didn't change a damn thing on the camera. No settings, this is on tripods, locked off. Nothing changed, but it crops in a little bit and it's slightly darker around the edges. I noticed that. There's maybe some vignetting a little bit on the Samyang, which is clearly not present here with the Sony. The autofocus of the native Sony lens is absolute insanity. I mean, look at how fast that is. It does seem like the Samyang, while it does a magnificent job of autofocus, it takes a little bit longer. When I was whipping in and out of frame, it wasn't catching me quite as quick. Now, for the record, that's a stupid test. When do you need that? When I do talking head videos, this is what I do. I stand here, I do talking head. If I'm vlogging, I'm walking around with the camera. Nobody's ever going like this in the middle of a video. Like, that's not. And if they are, when you're watching it, you don't really care at every millisecond of that. Man, I think I just threw my back out. I'm too old for this. You don't care at every millisecond of that if it's staying in focus, as long as it's kind of in focus at the beginning and at the end. So it's a dumb autofocus test. I don't think autofocus being slightly slower on this is a reason not to get it. I do think the slight vignetting, the slight crop is a reason to be concerned about this. It's worth noting that the Samyang also has a major problem with breathing, focus breathing. You'll see that as I come in and out of the frame as it catches focus, the entire image looks like it's zooming in and out. And the Sony never does that. I don't know what this vibe is that people are talking about with the Samyang, but I don't really see it. And to be fair, the Sony lens does look pretty clinical. It looks pretty corporate, but I've found a way around that because I came from Lumix, from Panasonic, like so many people that finally gave up on their depth from defocus, autofocus nonsense in 2022. I finally gave up reluctantly on Panasonic to move over to Sony, and I miss the creamier, warmer, smoother look of Panasonic, but watch, I've got a fix for that. So now I'm filming in S-Log3 instead of Cinetone, and when I grade it, this is what it looks like. And I think that this looks a lot nicer than the standard picture profiles or even the S-Cinetone coming out of Sony. I think that when you film an S-Log3 and you choose the contrast and the sharpness and the saturation and all of that, I can make this feel a lot more cinematic, a lot creamier, like my Panasonic cameras, that Lumix look that I miss so much. So I'm, the Sony lens, this lens, because we're doing a lens comparison, we're not talking about cameras, but like, if you're concerned with the Sony lens, is that it looks a little too clinical, too corporate? Well, here's your answer. S-Log3, if you're gonna spend some time color grading, correcting, this is gonna help you get that smoother, more cinematic look. So yeah, I'm gonna send the Samyang back. I'm happy to spend. I am thrilled with having spent quite a bit more money on the Sony versus the Samyang for the quality that I'm getting, and I'm disappointed. I was really excited about this, not because it was cheaper, but because I was excited to have a lens that kind of had a vibe to it. But for me, the Sony is it. I'm sorry for those of you who were really hoping that I was gonna say the cheaper one is better. But hey, maybe you like the look of the Samyang better. Let me know. Go into the comments and tell me, did you like the Sony or the Samyang better before I told you which one it was? And anyway, if you enjoyed this video, find anything useful here, hit the like button, subscribe for mostly audio content, helping you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs, and I will see you soon. For the record, I really like the pouch that the Samyang comes with. I wish the Sony came with, for being so much more expensive, I wish it came with a pouch that was this cool. It's got this nice zipper. It's got a nice feel to it, but I'm sticking with the Sony.